Since graduating from acting school in 2000, Daniel Mays has pretty much not stopped working. He's taken on explosive characters from the raging, abusive Jason in Mike Leigh's All or Nothing to the haunted figure of Sergeant Danny Waldron in Line of Duty. What a role. Gaining a BAFTA nomination for that role this week.
So, if you wanted to look at Daniel's CV, it's essentially like the Bayeux Tapestry. It just goes on and on and on. This guy, forget James Brown, he's the hardest working man in show business. And he's from Buckhurst Still, of all places. Daniel Mays, welcome to Five
Daniel.
Live.
Hiya, gang. Lovely to talk to you.
Nice
And
to
to
talk
you,
to you
mate.
again
And to
too.
you. And firstly, congratulations. Where were you when you found out you'd been nominated for a BAFTA?
I was in the land of Nod and then woke up and my phone was going mental in the corner of the room and with all these congratulations messages and everything. So it was just great. Yeah, lots of family and friends just wishing me all the best. I was thrilled to be nominated. Great stuff.
What does it mean, Daniel, to you personally?
It's always nice, isn't it, to get an
You
acknowledgement.
get a new suit for a start.
Yeah. Get a new tux in. It's just great to get an acknowledgement, isn't it? I guess it's like you said, I've been around for a long time now, just to kind of get a pat on the back and people going, "Don't worry, Danny, you're moving in the right direction." It's all right. Yeah, I was very pleased.
And for such a character, though, as well, I mean, he was blistering for the short time that he was on our screens, Daniel. But that's the thing about it, isn't it? He didn't last long.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was only one episode, wasn't it? But when they delivered me the script, I was absolutely hit for six because the emotional journey which he went on, and indeed the audience were taken on a complete roller coaster because he was sort of repulsive, wasn't he, at the beginning, and then with what he did in the first couple of pages of the script, and then by the end you open up the character and you realise he's got all this trauma and all this stuff that happened to him in his past, and then the audience were feeling a kind of like weird degree of sympathy for him. So, and of course, like every great Line of Duty episode, you have one of these intense interrogation scenes, which was an absolute monster to learn. So I think without question, the writing from Jeb Mercurio was the best I've ever worked with today. It was an absolute, gift
You've
of a
worked
role.
with some great writers, haven't you?
I have. I mean, I've got something released today called Guerilla, written by the brilliant John Ridley. And
Who wrote 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, you just have to try as best you can to hunt out those scripts because ultimately, the sun rises and sets with the quality of the writing, and you just got to sniff them out and be lucky enough to land the gigs, I guess.
How often are you auditioning for these, Daniel, and how often do you get a phone call? Are you always auditioning?
Do you know what? It absolutely depends. Okay, I mean, I had to audition for both Guerrilla and Line of Duty, for example, and then other stuff you just kind of get offered off the bat now. So it's kind of it kind of can play with your mind a little bit, because I think every actor should always be prepared, though, to come in and read. I think once you get into the ballpark of thinking, well, why aren't they just offering it to me, then that can be a slippery slope. Because it's not always about whether you can play the character in the room as best you can, but it's also about meeting the director and the producers in the room as well. It's it's going to eventually be a collaborative effort with everyone pulling in the same direction. And so that interaction of just trying to gauge what the working relationship might be is equally as important as the actual reading of the audition itself.
A couple of years ago, Daniel, I interviewed Riz Ahmed, and he said to me that he'd felt like for 10 years he'd been seen as the next big thing. And that he was always on, one to watch lists, even though he was kind of working consistently for a while. Do you feel like an insider or an outsider, if there is such a thing as a kind of acting establishment, those people who don't have to audition, those people who are just offered the plum roles? Because you've worked a lot.
I've worked a lot. I think it's... I get asked a lot about the class system that goes on in acting at the moment. I think there are certainly the landscape of that has kind of changed. There are a lot of brilliantly accomplished, hugely talented actors that have obviously been privately educated. Those actors seem to actually be in the fore at the moment. I guess maybe 20 years ago that probably wasn't the case. I'm talking about, actors that represented the working class, like the Gary Oldmans and the Christopher Ecclestons and all those sort of, you know, they were sort of heroes of mine growing up, without question. But it's a difficult thing to sort of talk about, because I always admired great character actors like the Jim Broadbents and the Tim Spalls of this world. But that's not even getting into, you know, Asian actors and black actors who really have much a harder task to try and get on in this industry compared to me. So, you know,
Do you think that fashion has swung kind of against people from more of a state school working class background of late? And then, of course, if it is fashion, then presumably it will swing back again.
I think so. Listen, I just think those actors that, you know, the Tom Hiddlestons and, you know, Eddie, you know, I know them. They're absolutely top drawer. I'm not criticising them. I mean, they deserve every award they get. But, you know, from my point of view, I think, you know, they're just a lot more in vogue at the moment. That might be controversial to say it, and it's like Danny May's banging on about it again. But I think it's good to talk about.
Well, funny, one of the ones that you mentioned, one of the ones that could get mentioned there is Tom Hollander, who is actually been nominated for a BAFTA in the same category as you this year. He's been nominated for The Night Manager. And you and he did a programme together, didn't you, in a pilot in the States, where they made you the posh one?
Indeed, yeah. We shot it over here, actually. Unfortunately, it never got picked up. But that was a classic example, actually, of going into the audition, and I went in and read for the character was from Essex. So they're two brothers that were separated at birth. One is gentrified and the other one's a bit rough and ready from Essex. And of course, you can imagine the role that I went in and read for. And it was Rowan Jones, this amazing American showrunner that liked what I did, but thought, you know, I wasn't right for it. And then he just said, well, why don't we try Danny for the posh part? And it was like, all the English people in the room were like, no, Danny doesn't do that. We don't do that with him. And he was like, well, why not? Let's bring him back. And I read for that. And I ended up getting the role. So, I don't know, sometimes it's like you want producers and creatives and casting directors within the industry over here to, you know, use as much imagination and risk as much as you possibly can, you know, because any actor worth their salt, they don't want to continue to play the same role.
Cat Slater's boyfriend.
No, exactly. You just want to try and, you know, branch out and push the boundaries, because, you know, the world of acting you can grow and mature, and, you know, the world is your oyster, really, if you're lucky enough to remain in it.
Yeah, well, you worked with Bryan Cranston, didn't you, recently in The Infiltrator? What was that like? Because that was a brilliant interview that we had on this programme, because he said, listen, in a career like mine, this is the man who's so famous now, it's hard to believe. But he said it's all about longevity.
Yeah, I think Brian's a classic example of someone that was around forever, and wasn't he in Malcolm in the Middle for a long time?
He certainly was.
Yeah.
And then obviously Breaking Bad was a complete game changer.
Have you seen that yet?
What, Breaking Bad?
Yeah, I saw an interview with you where you said you hadn't watched Breaking Bad
I'm
yet.
sort of like halfway through it. And when I worked with him, I had to say to him, oh, you were wonderful in Breaking Bad. Oh, absolutely top drawer work. Amazing, yeah. So I didn't quite have the heart to admit to him that I hadn't seen an episode. But
Sorry.
he was just a standout talent to work with, and an absolute joy on set. So, but that's the thing, you never know what's around the corner. You know, someone could be in obscurity and a plum role will come along and it will just change your life. So I guess that's the carrot that's dangled in front of everyone, isn't it?
Well, like Mike Leigh changed your life.
Yeah, I mean, I left drama school when I didn't work for the first 6 months. I was absolutely petrified.
That's from leaving RADA.
Yeah, I left RADA and I was working as a casting assistant, just operating the camera. I was like, in the end, I was just actually, you know, doing the commercials casting and taking all the extras through, and it was quite laborious, but I just couldn't land a part, and I thought, what am I going to do next? And then you mentioned Cat Slater's boyfriend. That was the first part I ever got. It was 4 episodes on EastEnders. But then within a year after that, I met Mike Leigh and got his first film, or my first film with him, All or Nothing. And it certainly, it sort of changed everything for me, not least because obviously, you know, the door opens a little bit further and everyone's going to watch his film. But it was the actual process of working with him, working on a character, leaving no stone unturned in his process of trying to find the truth of whatever character you're playing. And he was just an educational in itself. I owe everything to Mike, really. He was a phenomenal teacher and person to work with.
Did you grow up in a creative environment, Daniel? In Essex?
No, my dad's an electrician and my mum was a bank cashier.
Yeah.
And
but amongst your friends at school, was there a drama teacher that inspired you? That old classic.
If I wasn't going to be an actor, I was going to be an artist, and so I always had the ability just to pick something up and sketch it. So I was sort of quite creative like that early on. But the first, I went to stage school when I was third year in senior school, and
Right.
I had an amazing teacher there, Dennis Noonan, who was just an improvisation teacher who's a very close friend of mine now. We've remained in contact.
Amazing.
And he was a phenomenal teacher because it was just that thing really of allowing people to go into a space and lose your inhibitions, and just that thing of actually being in the moment and being creatively free. And I owe a lot to Dennis. You never ever forget your teachers, do you?
No,
No,
you do not.
especially not the one that makes the mark on you like that. And then you went to RADA, and I didn't realise this, but RADA have a buddy scheme. Who were you paired with?
Timothy Spall.
Not bad.
Not bad, yeah. I kind of didn't ring him for the first 3 weeks because I was petrified, and then he called me. It was just a lovely person to go out. We had a drink, and it was just that port of call really when you first enter the industry, to give you advice and what agents you should talk to. And then Tim was in All or Nothing, but we didn't have any screen time. But when was
Last year, The Caretaker.
The Caretaker was last
Look
year.
at you, can't remember.
I can't remember. And
Too busy.
Tim had not been on stage for 19 years, and it was his first playback, and to be given the opportunity to play Aston alongside him in the brilliant Caretaker at the Old Vic, Matthew Watchers was directing, was an absolute dream, really. So it actually felt like it had kind of come full circle.
Yeah, but you were fresh from the Patrick Marber play, which was the last time I spoke to you, but the Red Lion.
Yeah.
And so were you kind of going, it's going to be all right, Tim. It's going to be all right, son. What was it like?
The thing about the character that he played in that, Davis, I mean, it's sort of Shakespearean in its length. It's like, I think it's like a bigger role than King Lear. So the weight of dialogue that he had to contain with was kind of incredible. But once Tim got in front of an audience, he was brilliant in rehearsals, but he's such a naturally gifted actor, Timothy Spall. He's one of our best ever character actors that we've ever produced, I think. And you could just see him. He just fed from the audience, really. And, I love doing theatre. It's always live, isn't it? It's always anything can happen in the moment. And hopefully I'll continue to do it.
You seem to have a very high quality threshold. I struggled to find any turkeys in there. Perhaps you could
come
point
on.
some out to us.
There's a few in
there.
The dancing. Well, that's not a turkey. I mean, it's just like a bit part, isn't it, in Pearl Harbor? I mean, that's not a turkey. I'm talking
I
about
know,
lead roles.
from Michael Lee to Michael Bay.
But what is the criteria you attach to taking on a part? Multiple ones, obviously. But
Well, it's always the quality of the writing. It's a sort of a number of things. It can be a director that you admire that you've not worked with before, or indeed, I think you just have to investigate who's attached to the project to begin with. But I mean, like I said, I've got to a point now where I feel like you've gained a certain status within the industry, and it's sort of the ball is in your court as such. I mean, I've worked recently with Idris Elba in Guerilla, and I so admire Idris because there is an example of someone who, has worked his socks off, and he's endeavouring to make his own, Guerilla, the thing we've done together for Sky.
it's amazing. I've seen the first two episodes.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
powerful.
he's an exec producer on that. It's a great
Yeah.
example of somebody using their star power for the greater good, really. And
Well, he moved the story from America to England by
he
him
did.
being exec producer, didn't
yeah.
he?
So I think, actors it's a sort of lesson really to sort of say, you know, the world is your oyster in the sense of if you want to get projects off the ground, you can always get people together and sort of do it yourself. I'm sort of attracted to that idea. So I don't know. What
You're certainly attracted to taking yourself as far out of your comfort zone as possible. I did tweet you last night about +1 and those dance moves.
Oh.
Man, you can dance, you know.
Well,
Where did that come from?
Well,
For people who haven't seen this,
Honestly, I have seldom been as happy as the moments that I spent this morning watching you dancing.
it's
I
right
thought
up
it was
there with the David
superb.
Brent dance. Isn't
no,
it?
it's
Eh?
not.
Way
It's
beyond
not.
that.
It's
You can
not.
actually dance.
You can dance. Your Michael Jackson is no joke.
Well, I used to do that as a kid at all the discos.
Did you?
The first thing I ever saw in terms of performance was Michael Jackson at the Bad Tour in Wembley. My mum took me.
Wow, that's not a
And it
bad
was-
first
it-
concert.
Yeah, and I tell you, it was like a light bulb moment. Billie Jean, black fedora in the spotlight, and I was just like, I couldn't quite grasp how he was moving his body. I mean, no one comes close to him in terms of live performance. And so then I was like in my bedroom, you know, doing all the dance routines. Then I went to a local dance group. Then I went to stage school, and it eventually led on to RADA. So, you know, day one I walked into RADA and they said, like, who inspired you to act? Like, what was your... And I was, everyone was going around saying, I don't know, Olivier and Ken Branagh and everything. And I said MJ. And, and the whole room was like, you can't actually say that here. And
What's,
it was like,
what's
well, you know,
Timothy Spall's shapes like? Did you and him have a dance off?
No, we didn't have a dance off, no. We had a pincer off.
Who could do the longest pause between sentences?
So how did that come about then? With +1, did they just say to you, look, we've heard that you can throw a few shapes. Come on.
How did it come about? There was, that was it. In the script, because he's trying to take a model to his ex-girlfriend's wedding, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in the script, if I remember this correctly, the moment comes and he's put on the spot and he's meant to be terrible at it. That was what was in the script. And I said, well, look, you know, maybe we could do it in, you know, another way and say that he's actually really good, just to spin the whole thing on. And there was a stunt guy on it who was a ex-British breakdance champion, and we choreographed the dance together, and we didn't tell anyone what we were going to do, but we worked it out, and then I literally did 2 takes and then keeled over in the corner of the room because I wasn't as fit as I'd like to be. But no, it was great. It was, and the way that they edited it together was it was very funny.
You accidentally kicked somebody in the face at the end of it, a woman.
And it was all in front of Jamelia, wasn't it? That was it.
Jamelia made me do it.
That's the killer line at the end of it. Honestly, if you
I was
just look
gutted.
that up now.
I was gutted that never got a second series. I
Oh.
would have loved to have continued with that show. It was such fun.
Loads of people have texted about that. I mean, various different things about you, but really, really greatest comedy +1. Love Daniel in it. Panda mix-up had me in tears laughing.
Yeah.
His taster says. So lovely to be able to do comedy as well. And as Nihal said, you know, so diverse. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about what you're doing now, because Born to Kill is out, what, tonight?
Born to Kill will be
Tomorrow night?
out Thursday next week.
Thursday
That's
next week.
Wednesday.
And you're on
today.
Radio 4 right now, apparently. Yeah, I mean, you know, in a drama,
play.
apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
So tell us a little bit about Born to Kill. How different is this role? You are playing a copper again.
No, well, he's an
Ex-copper.
ex-detective, yeah.
Okay.
But he's very much, you know, we've talked about all the characters I've played on The Edge. He's kind of a lot calmer than that. He's somewhat on an even keel. But Born to Kill is a 4-part psychological thriller on Channel 4, and it endeavours to lift the lid on the world of psychopathy. So the main protagonist is this adolescent boy called Sam, played by an absolutely sensational new talent, an actor called Jack Rowan.
I haven't seen a debut performance like that in a while.
He is an absolute find, as is Lara Peake, the girl that plays my daughter in it. But it's a sort of strange coming-of-age drama, but also this is a boy who is succumbing to his dark, twisted, psychotic tendencies, really. And in a way, it's sort of a hard drama to define because it really does fall between genres. Yes, it's a crime thriller, but it's also, like I said, a coming-of-age thing and very much a domestic relationship drama as well. And so I play a character called Bill who returns to Ripley Heath where the drama is set. He's not been back there for 10 years. He's a widower. He's got an only daughter. And I meet Sam's mum, Jenny, played by the brilliant Rom Ligari, and they kind of begin a tentative relationship together. And indeed, our kids begin to fall in love as well. So, I mean, as you can imagine, it becomes very complicated. But I found it absolutely compelling to watch because it's superbly directed by Bruce Goodison, and what he's done superbly well is get into the headspace of this rather twisted individual, and it's filmed as such in the sense that the camera choices are really imaginative. The score is very off centre, as is the sound design as well. It's a really just compelling, really.
Well, let's have a listen to it. This is a clip from Born to Kill with Daniel Mays as Bill, with his daughter Chrissy, played by Laura Peake.
When are we going to go and see my gran?
Well, I think I should go on my own first.
Why?
I need to see how she is.
I thought you said she'd only broken her hip.
I haven't seen her in a long time, Chrissy, right? I don't know how fragile she is, what kind of a state she's in.
Calm down, Dad.
I am calm.
The tension in this series, that first sort of 30 minutes, I thought, oh my gosh, it's like we need to talk about Kevin. What are we going to...
Yeah, there's a sort of foreboding in it, isn't there, really?
Yeah. And I bet that doesn't let up in episode 2.
No, and it kind of drip feeds you information as well as it continues. And it's like classic sort of Hitchcock, isn't it? Because you, the audience, are sort of privy to these things that he's doing. And so you're actually watching the other characters around him come to terms with it gradually one by one. I mean, that's the power of it, really, is it's this extraordinary in the ordinary. It's a very much a sort of Ripley Heath could be any sort of small town in the middle of England, you know, it could be anywhere. So it's about how people deal with it. I mean, it's very dark.
Yeah, it really is. Seeing these two young actors coming through in this, what does that mean to you? What sort of advice do you give them? Do they ask for it? How do you see them as different, the acting world that they're in now compared to what you were in? I was
absolutely blown away by how brilliant they really were. I mean, I absolutely love it when new actors come on the scene. And I mean, a lot of my stuff was with Laura Peake, and I'd never seen her before. But she was so brilliant, and I love the fact that you have no previous performances to draw upon. You don't, you know, they come at it afresh, and what really helps with that, and from an audience point of view, is that you completely and utterly believe the believability of their performance is completely there because you've got nothing to compare it against. It's like you're seeing them for the first time. So I didn't have to give them any advice. They were just completely committed, professional, and you could tell that they knew that they had this amazing opportunity to sort of bring these characters to life.
Daniel Mays is with us, of course, acting supremo that he is. Amazing actor. Do you have diva moments? When was the last time you had a diva moment?
Oh, yeah, the trailer's not too big and all that. No, I can't get into all that. Oh, it's just terrible, really, isn't it?
Well, what does that mean? Fame and celebrity, it can do certain things to people. You must have seen people on the way up with you who perhaps have changed because of fame. So maybe they haven't, I don't know. But how do you avoid that yourself? You know, because there are, of course, the more famous you become, the more people are willing to say yes to everything you want.
I think, I mean, look, I can probably count on one hand the experiences I've had of that. But I would probably, not with me personally, the things that I've seen, but I often think that when those people do that, all of it is really insecurity, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
I think so. That's what I would describe it as anyway.
So you've never had to do you know who I am? You've never kind of gone, I'm Daniel Mays off the TV, I'd like a table, please,
never.
before.
I mean, yeah, I should maybe start throwing my weight around a little bit more to get I don't know.
Just bust a few
table
of
at
those
the Ivy
moves.
or something like that, yeah.
Let's do a few of your Killer MJ moves. That'll get you in anywhere in the world.
I guess
They'll throw me out if I do that.
I guess being a dad is a great leveler, isn't it?
It is really, yeah, because,
Milo,
I mean,
yeah.
they just bring you back down to earth, don't they, really? They don't really care if you've done a particularly bad performance or that. They just want to go and play on their bikes or whatever.
Is he double digits now? Is he? 10 or
Milo is 11.
11?
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay. 11 going on 18? Or?
Yeah, and then some.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, he's... No, he's an absolute joy, Milo, and yeah, very proud of him.
Does he take after you or after your partner more? Who do you see more of, personality-wise?
Well, he's actually, believe it or not, he's in Matilda at the moment in the West End.
Oh, right, well, there you go then.
So there you go.
There you
so
go, that
in
answers
terms
that
of,
question. Yeah.
But no, my partner Luce used to be a singer as well. So what with me acting and Luce singing around the house,
God, that's a
he didn't
creative house.
really.
Hope he becomes an accountant, just to wind
Yeah.
both of you up.
So Uno, he's sort of dipping his toe into it at the moment and seeing how he gets on, but he's not shy in coming forward. Put it that way.
Well, you have to be very thick-skinned in your game, isn't it? And even now, if you are auditioning, there are parts you're not going to get.
Yeah.
Can you perhaps shed a light on some of the parts you went for and didn't get, and really would love to have?
That happens all the time.
Still,
I mean,
really?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about rejection, and like you say, you can't get every role, and sometimes your face isn't going to fit, and all the rest of it. But you have to. The more you stay in the game, you get more resilient. You just understand that there's many talented actors out there, and you just can't get everything. So you just learn to cope with it. I mean, I am a bit like a bear with a sore head for a day. If I really want a part and you've learnt the scenes and you've gone in and you think you can never really tell how it goes. I've had experiences where you've gone in and thought like you've done the best audition you've ever given. You've absolutely smashed it out of the park. They've walked you to the lift, pressed the button, and you leave and you go, see you on set then. Fantastic. When do we start? And it doesn't come in. And then, there's the opposite of that can happen. So, you never can really tell what's gonna take place.
Guerilla must have been a good call.
I'm just wondering
Getting
then
that to say yes.
if it's then always about the audition. Maybe they've made their minds up.
I've actually been in auditions where I've been cast in it and then I've read for actors coming in, which is extraordinary, really, because you're on the other side of the table and it's sort of apparent that people's decisions are made probably within the first 30 seconds to a minute of them reading, actually.
Wow.
It's quite brutal like that. But, I mean, my advice to any actor, when they're auditioning is you've got to be completely and utterly prepared because you've just got to recognise that as your golden window of opportunity. That's the thing. I remember watching an interview with George Clooney, and he said, you've got to go into it with the mentality of these people in this room as a problem, and you're going to be the solution to the problem. And I thought there was a lovely simplistic quality to that. But, I mean, you've got to be as gung-ho and as ruthless when you walk through the door, I think.
Talking about gung-ho and ruthless, you didn't last very long in Rogue One.
I didn't, no. It was one of
Another
those
one of
where I
your
was
worst,
killed
Daniel.
again, shot, stabbed,
Can't
poisoned,
believe it.
imprisoned. I've even fallen down a lift shaft
Where was that? What was that one?
in Byzantium. We were
Was it
talking
the Neil
about it
Jordan
today.
one? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. I've suffered some horrible deaths on screen.
Is that what you ask your agent for? How do
Yeah.
I die in this one? Oh, good, I haven't died like that
What
before.
have we got
What,
this week?
A cheese grater and a piano. Yeah, we'll have that.
Let's go for that one. That sounds great.
Nice
Tick it off the
garrotting.
list.
Lovely. Listen, somebody's texted to say, can you ask Danny what does he think of Line of Duty Series 4? Because if you're just joining us, we're talking to Daniel Mays, who has just been nominated for a BAFTA for his role in Series 3 of Line of Duty, even though he only is in one episode. So that says an awful lot about the quality of that performance. Line of Duty Series 4 has been adapted. Has it sold out? This texter says, to the appeal of the masses, who's saying they're really upset. They love the other series. This one, they say that it's ruined just because it's moved from BBC Two to BBC One.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think the fact that it's gone on BBC One is going to give it a much wider audience. I mean, Series 1 to 3 kind of tied everything up, and all the unanswered questions were provided in Series 3. That's all done and dusted, and I think the great thing about Line of Duty, it's a new channel, it's a breath of fresh air. They can start a new case, and I'm absolutely locked into it. I mean, that end of the first step when Jason Watkins was there with the chainsaw, I was like, oh, have they done it? Has he done it again? Is he killed off the... And
I
then,
thought
of course,
that too.
So, I mean, look, he's just a master storyteller, and he's got the audience in the palm of his hand. And, I mean, for my money, I think Line of Duty can run and run because if Jed continues to do it and wants to do it with that quality of writing, then he should be able to attract the best actors in the business. I mean, you can't go wrong with Tandy Newton. She's, proper Hollywood royalty, isn't she? I mean, that's the calibre of actor that's now attracted to Line of Duty. And, World Productions, who make that show, churn out quality dramas year in, year out. And, long may it continue.
Yeah. And what a cliffhanger at the weekend as well.
Yeah. Well, we can't. Even though I'm not in the series, I'm sort of hesitant to talk about it because I don't want to give anything
No,
away.
I know.
No,
Well, somebody's already tweeted me to say, so what are you saying about what's happened to Steve? Because I was talking about you dying in episode 1 of the last series.
Yeah.
I don't know what
But
happens to Steve, everyone.
I had an amazing time on Line of Duty, and I have to say that every one of those actors, Martin Compston, Vicky McClure, Adrian Dunbar, and my old mate Craig Parkinson, we were flatmates, and we'd never worked with each other before, so it was an absolute joy to share the screen with them, because I just think their acting is off the scale.
Now, getting away from acting for a moment, Daniel, John from Havant has texted in saying, I'm a massive Leyton Orient fan like Danny. Does Danny have anything to say about the terrible situation at the club?
That he can broadcast.
Yeah, I actually
Don't
was
get
on
into a Ray Winston situation where he slagged off West Ham so much once they banned him from the club for a little while.
No,
Yeah,
really?
That actually happened.
Oh, point taken. I won't do that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, it's just it's a tragic. It's just tragic what's happened, because 3 years ago, when Barry Hearn was our chairman, there we were in the playoff final at Wembley on a penalty shootout. We lost. Barry Hearn sold the club to a billionaire Italian chairman, lovely man, Bichetti, who has now, within the course of 3 years, absolutely destroyed the club. We're at the rock bottom of League Two. We're going to get relegated. There's a 9 points difference. We'd need a miracle to make that up. It's not through the want of trying for the players. They're trying their hearts out. But look, this team, Leyton Orient, has had 11 managers in the space of 3 years. I mean, in itself tells its story. I mean, you need stability in any football club, in any organisation. You need to have stability. So unfortunately, football's littered with these horror stories, these absolute nightmare stories where foreign owners come in and destroy the club, and unfortunately Leyton Orient is tied with that brush at this time.
Well, I would never suggest that you ditch a team that you support, but, if you want to come over and support Spurs like me, then I'm sure you've got a few mates that support Spurs.
Well, you're all right. You're sitting pretty at the moment, aren't you?
It hasn't always been that way, Daniel. It hasn't always been that way.
I'm very excited about your new ground, because I was talking to someone about it, and the new build is that the stands are going to be not vertical, but the sound is going to be amazing in that stadium. Do you know that?
Yeah, it's the biggest kind of continuous stand in Europe, if not in the world. I think.
You're not going to be like dear old West Ham fans that are a million miles away from the action. There you go. You're going to get a few tweets now, aren't you?
Look, I'm
Come
sure
on,
you.
Hammers, let's have you.
I'm sure
Well,
you.
there's Ray Winston on the blower.
I'm sure you never miss an opportunity to have a go at a West Ham fan. To be fair, Daniel. It's been an absolute
pleasure, Daniel,
man,
as always.
to have you here on the show today, Daniel.
And if you want to watch Daniel or listen to him, you could probably tune into Radio 4 now and catch him if you just want to go ahead.
Or turn on any TV channel and there will be something that Daniel.
Born to Kill is going to start on Thursday, the 20th of April. It's at 9 p.m. on Channel 4. And Guerilla premieres tonight. That's the one's premiere tonight. 9 p.m. on Sky Atlantic. Good luck with everything. Can't wait to talk to you soon.
Lovely to chat to you.
Brilliant
Top
stuff.
man.
And
Bye-bye.
I
Cheers, Daniel.
so cannot recommend, both of us cannot recommend highly enough, just Googling Daniel Mays +1 and watching that dance.
But Guerilla is brilliant. I mean, Guerilla is, and the character Daniel plays in Guerilla next to Rory Kinnear is just very, very interesting indeed.
Good stuff.
You're listening to a BBC 5 Live podcast.
If you like this, you might also like this.
Fighting Talk.
This is always quite random, as the podcast extras are. Freebies that you've been given by bands.
I got a paperweight from ELO.
To find out more about our range of podcasts, click, tap or swipe bbc.co.uk/5live.